Shauna.
S for Sonia. And today, Ashana, we are in Halls, Tennessee.
I know. I'm so excited about being here in Lauderdale County today. I think there's an interesting story that has to be told from Murray Hudson.
Yes, I've never been here before. I've met Murray a few years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Very interesting guy. I had not been to his place.
Mm-hmm.
You can see we're surrounded by globes and maps. It's a really fun place to be, and I'm looking forward to hearing the story of how all this came to be.
That's it. I think it's time. What do you think?
It's time.
Y'all come on.
This is a business that started as a hobby. I signed up to do a summer course in English literature, which is what I majored in, at the University of Oxford in England. This is the High Street in Oxford. And I walked up this street and up around the corner here where you can't quite see, there was a little bow-windowed building that was a map shop. I got inside, I was just blown away. I ended up buying 52 maps. Carried these maps around for years. I came back to farm with my father. I had meanwhile bought a number of other maps too. There were not a whole lot of map dealers at that time, but I got a couple of catalogs. I said, I think I could set this up as a business. I made up a little catalog, and I put an ad in the Texas Historical Society Quarterly, and as soon as it got to people, with maybe a couple of pictures of the maps I had in there, the phone at home just rang constantly. I sold everything I had. I came over to Halls, the nearest town of any size, and a distant cousin, elderly distant cousin, owned this building, which had been the post office. So I rented that, and later from another cousin who owns the bank across the street, he had 2 empty buildings, and so I rented those too. It wasn't hard for me to fill them up. Pretty soon I had 25,000 items. And it's been lots and lots of fun. I have traveled everywhere doing shows and looking. Initially I was looking for more maps because there were not that many available except in maybe New York, where they're fairly expensive. I found a number of them at one point in New Orleans. And we've done well even with the COVID. The internet has been the mainstay for the business because it started the same time we did, and we've got so many things on the internet. So I started doing videos of individual maps or globes or occasionally a book, and so that's actually helped the business, and it's been very enjoyable to do because I'm an old English teacher and school teacher in general, and I've also done lots and lots of talks about maps. Because I concentrated on finding the rarest things. I didn't care what I paid for it. I wanted the rarest things that were American. And I had a pair of globes I sold at the Library of Congress. They were sort of like these two behind me, but larger. And I offered them to the Library of Congress because they were British-made globes, and they were spectacular looking, but that wasn't the reason. The reason was that in the United States, in the western part of Tennessee and Kentucky, and I think it was in the 1790s, neither one of them were states yet. And there was a Franklin across there. They were going to have their own state of Franklin. And they named it Franklin because of Benjamin Franklin, and they thought that he would sponsor it. This is in the 1790s, so he was like the center of attention. And it just never came to be. So, and most people don't have no earthly idea about it. but the British accepted it as a state in the new United States, which they didn't really like. And so that's the reason the Library of Congress bought it, because it's the extraordinary historical value of that. And oh, I can go on. There's just been so many things. Also with the Library of Congress, someone came into my shop one day earlier on and brought a box full of maps, but they were just completely dirty, and I knew they were old and so on. So I looked at them. They looked very interesting, and I sent them off to professional cleaners and documented repairs that I use in near Boston, and they cleaned them up like new, sent them back, and I said, wow, these are maps. There was signatures and some and also information documents with them that said that this was James Safford, who was the first surveyor of Tennessee, first after it was a state, and he was a professor of geography at one school, and then at Vanderbilt, which was brand new, and wasn't even called Vanderbilt at the time, he was in the medical school a doctor of pharmacy. So really interesting man. But I had these documents, and the Library of Congress had no, not even one or two, but no box full of maps of a state surveyor that early. And so they were delighted to buy that whole collection. I left them at Vanderbilt, by the way, for like 9 years to see if they would buy them, because that's where I thought it ought to be. But nevertheless, it actually is probably better that it went to the Library of Congress. That's another one of the highlights of, seeing things go where other people can appreciate them. They can be used as teaching tools, for their historical value, and it just has so many facets to it that please me, and I'm still doing it at 78, so it's something as long as I'm still around, I think I can probably continue doing. It's been fun passing on things that actually can be used, that are going to be on a display and on an institution and preserved, I hope, for decades, generations, to other people. I hope people are still going to be interested in this sort of thing, because it does tell you a lot about life from the period of when those particular globes were made, and the kind of decorative interests they had, and what the world looked like, and so it has so many facets, historical and teaching, and just plain fun. And the maps have also taught me a lot. I try to find out who lived there and what they did, and went to Machu Picchu, and places that were really extraordinary before there was in the United States. And so it's an interesting world. The more you know about it, the more interesting it is. I had a thank you note from a grade school student, I guess here in Ripley, in Halls or in Ripley, where I went to school and told things. And I had made some joke about, this map is older than me, it's 100 years old. And so he wanted to know, was I pretty close to the 100-year-old map? Or he made some remark like that. And thanked me. But I'm looking forward to traveling and doing a lot more talks at map shows and doing videos and so on. But it's just been a sheer pleasure to do this. It's never been work at all.
Well, Ashana, what do you think?
I think Murray has an extensive collection of globes and maps. Anyone should want to stop here in Halls and stop by and see him.
But he's a storyteller.
He is.
And
he is.
It just made them all come to life.
I loved his stories. He has a plethora of knowledge about everything, it seems like. You know, every map, every globe, he recalls the story, and I guess it has served as sweet memories that are stored in the treasure chest of his heart.
Yes. And it's right here in Halls, Tennessee.
Right here in Halls. Who would have thought? Y'all better stop by.
Till next time.
Till next time.